Yes, you're spot on. Taking action with small things will turn into big things. Absolutely. I always say confidence is built in the quiet moments that no one sees. No one's clapping for you when you decide to get out of bed. And trust me, some days getting out of bed is a feat for some people, right? If you're depressed or if you're feeling sad or lonely, getting out of the bed can be a chore, and you making that choice is one rep, right? I always say, like, building confidence is like working out a muscle. It's built in the reps. So those small steps truly add up, and they should all be celebrated. My wife and kids are my best friends. That's amazing. I love that. I love it. Thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it. Right. Boundaries mean a lot. They really do. That's what goes wrong in relationships. Nobody respects boundaries. Yeah, I mean, boundaries I feel like are also like relatively new. They're not new, but obviously the term boundary is kind of a little bit more relevant in the last few years. And I feel like sometimes people don't always know how to properly set boundaries, because a lot of the times I hear people say that they set a boundary, but they don't communicate the boundary. Right? They forget that step. They just say, I'm not going to accept her. I'm not going to tolerate that behavior anymore. And it's like, I think that's amazing that you can call it out. You can recognize what you're no longer willing to accept. However, people also aren't mind readers. And I personally have made this mistake where I set a boundary, but I didn't communicate effectively what that boundary was and what that meant to the other person. And so they were not able to rise to it and to meet it. Right? And sometimes people can inadvertently cut people off with boundary setting by not communicating it properly. They just say, I'm not going to deal with this. And then they just stop talking to the person. And that's also not fair either, because then you're keeping the person guessing. Obviously, it depends on the situation. If you're in harm or something like that, of course, cut it off. But if it is someone that you genuinely care about, and, things just haven't been going well, a conversation can really do a lot. And I think sometimes we're afraid to use our words, and our words are the most powerful thing, of course, as long as we use them to respect and empower ourselves and one another and to advocate for our needs. But again, it's like, I always say relationships aren't hard, people are. And when I say people, it's the me, it's the I am included, because I don't know always how to communicate what it is that I want. I don't always know what it is that I want. Sometimes I might know what I don't want, but I don't know how to convey what it is that I do want, or I might not be settled in what I want. So it's just having the open conversations. And when you have them, be okay with saying, this particular thing is not okay with me. Moving forward, I'm not sure where to go, but I know that what we're doing right now isn't working for me. You don't have to have all the answers when you have the conversation with someone. And I think that oftentimes we go into it thinking like we need the clear set of talking points and, this is how it's going to have to be. And it's just like, let's just open up about what we're feeling, what we're thinking. If you have clear intentions, say what they are. But if you don't and your mind's not made up yet, it's okay to say that your mind's not made up yet. So I think honesty honestly just goes the farthest. Instead of pretending like we have all of the answers, it's okay to not know everything. Sorry, I am behind on comments. Without accepting the right things and all, everything will go loose. Yeah, I agree. So, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it. Yeah, so those are my thoughts on just like, relationships, boundaries, confidence. I think that boundaries are pretty amazing though for protecting your peace. But I could go down a whole rabbit hole when it comes to protecting your peace, because I feel like we are all very big these days on protecting our peace. And I think it's super mega important to protect your peace, because at the end of the day, you're responsible for you and only you. However, at the same time, if you're in a relationship, there is something called compromise. Not every day is going to be perfect. You're going to get in arguments and disagreements, and your peace is going to be disrupted. And you have to ask yourself, who am I willing to have moments of disrupted peace for? Right? I think that it's very easy these days to throw up the word boundary and just say, I'm not dealing with this now. And it's like, well, if it's with someone you love and it's a relationship, there are going to be moments where you don't have peace. There are going to be times where things have heightened emotions, and you're gonna have to make some sacrifices and some choices. And it's just asking yourself, who are you willing to do that for, and to what level and to what degree? So, yeah. Let's see. Wow, I know you're married. Definitely not single. You seem to have a good head on your shoulders. Thank you so much. I'm not married. Do women hesitate to express feelings verbally when attracted to someone in a broken relationship? Let me reread that. Do women... Sorry, I keep getting these like little notifications that are popping up. Do women hesitate to express feelings verbally when attracted to someone in a broken relationship? Do you mean to express feelings to their partner that they're in a relationship with that is broken? If so, one is with women, right? The question you asked, it depends on the woman, right? Because we're all different. And so it's just going to depend on the specific person and whether or not they are a good communicator. Because I would say that in the context of your question, in a broken relationship, if anybody, man or woman, doesn't feel safe, I would say holistically and generally speaking, that they're not going to feel safe expressing their feelings. They're not going to want to communicate open and honestly because there's friction or the relationship is broken. And so you would have to build a foundation and a level of trust where you both feel like you can communicate effectively. And if the relationship is truly broken, I would say that's the time where you have a third party involved, like a therapist or a counselor, because you two already having the dynamics of being together, you might fall into old patterns of this is what happened in the past when this happened. And you might start to project those past circumstances onto the future and not hear the other person because you're so in your head with the story that you've been telling yourself because of what's happened in the past. So I think that it's all about just creating a psychological safety where people feel like they can open up and talk about their feelings. I think it's really important, and what I've learned from past relationships is addressing things a lot sooner and addressing them in the moment. So that's something I need to work on. You said no to a man who is in a broken relationship. So are you saying there's a third party? Like there's a woman that wants to communicate to a man that's in a broken relationship? Because if that's the case, I mean, it's still the same thing. You just need, that psychological safety, I would say, just in general, right? People need to feel safe and they need to feel like they can trust the other person. And so if that foundation isn't there, I would say people probably, are not inclined to speak their truth and to speak up and to say what it is that they actually feel, which is a shame, because I always say in life, life is too short to not tell people how you feel. And sometimes we're so afraid that we let fear take the wheel because we're terrified of rejection. And that's just something that we shouldn't lead with in life, right? Just if you can lead with the faith of knowing you can handle anything, then say what's on your mind. And if the answer is not what you want, you'll be okay. And if it is what you want, then amazing. You spoke up for yourself and you got what it is that you wanted. No, if she was attracted to a man that is in a broken relationship. Yeah, so I just answered that. Seneca said, okay, life coach, thank you. What do you think when people express your beauty? How does it make you feel? I'm appreciative. I just always say, not even just beauty, right? You all coming on this live, I'm not remiss by. Like, you all have very busy lives. There are other things that you could be doing. So the fact that someone is taking time out of their day to spend it with me or taking a moment to leave a comment and uplift me, I appreciate. So I'm thankful and I'm grateful for all of those things and all of those interactions. What do you think about cheating? I mean, it's not great. That's what I think. I think, honesty is king. And if you're in a committed relationship, you should stand firm on your commitment, because commitment is character. And I think that when you cheat, it reveals your character. And I think that is self-serving. I mean, it doesn't benefit anyone other than the person that is cheating. It's just hurting every other party that's involved, right? And so it's just important to get real with yourself and say, if I'm not happy, then I need to leave my relationship, not string a new person along and to hurt the person that I'm with. Baby Hulkman, yes, I am a confidence coach. As I said, I respect that. Thank you. How you don't have 4 million followers, you're breathtaking. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's the algorithm. I don't know. I'm posting every day. I've been posting 3 times a day since July. And honestly, for the first time, I don't really care about followers. I mean, great if I got them and, whatever. But it's more so is my message helping people? So the fact that you just said that, I'm, helping you all, that to me is enough. The number doesn't matter. It's just am I making an impact? And so that's why I prefer going on these lives, because you guys ask questions, I'm interacting with you all, and I get to build that sense of community, and I feel fulfilled because I'm helping people. So the number doesn't matter to me as much, but I do appreciate that though. Thank you so much. Has anybody ever told you look like Angelina Jolie, Lara Croft? Yeah, my sister says that actually a lot. That's funny. Ooh, is my friend the Goddess on? Hello. Thank you so much for the follow. I blocked people like crazy in my lives. Quality, baby. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, blocking was something that was new to me. That's actually something that I discovered this year. I used to, just to be honest and transparent, I thought blocking was so childish before, and that's for lack of a better word, and I don't mean that at all in any sort of derogatory way, because I actually did end up doing that this year to some people in my life, and I think there's different reasons for doing it. I will say that after I did it, I can see the benefit. I will admit, I was totally wrong. There is this lift, right? There's this kind of energetic release where you were tethered to the person before. And once you do that, it kind of releases that energy. And there is actually a weight, almost an immediate weight lifted off of your shoulders. So I totally understand why people do it now. And I think it's situationally dependent. I don't believe that blocking has to also be forever. It could be for a season. It could be for, a day or a specific reason or whatever. And the reason why is because I do believe that it's also important to be real with yourself and to know, to understand your triggers, right? And to face your triggers. And so if you need it in the interim to regulate your nervous system, I think it's awesome. And then I think there's also a benefit to seeing that person on your feed and on your timeline so that you can understand what is triggering me right now in this moment, so that I can understand it. Is it my self-abandonment wound, and this person is reminding me that I wasn't chosen and that I wasn't a priority? So it just It depends, but yeah, I agree. The goddess, hello. I understand. It's more of a compliment, but still very striking. Oh, I totally knew what you meant, and thank you. I appreciate that, Sports Bunker. Who are you? Deep within and outward. Understand when I ask, who are you? Or do you mean like spiritually? Is that what you're saying? Totally, but the trolls by. Yes, I totally agree. That is block for sure. People are weird and disrespectful. Yeah, that happens. The goddess, it's so good to see you. Yep, and my ex-BF I blocked and healed. Yeah, and that's the thing is like you just have to do what's best for you, right? And the thing is you don't have to explain that to anybody. Do you have kids? Till you get at least one. No, I don't have any kids. I don't have any kids. What are those things that make you who you are? Oh, okay, I understand your question now. For me, truly, there's so many different things, but for me, I'm like a natural giver. Like, I am people's biggest cheerleaders. Like, that to me fills my cup is like me giving to other people. Like, it's something that gives me true and honest joy. Like, sharing it with other people's. I really like to celebrate other people, and I know that that's not always common, and I don't really understand it because I firmly believe like when you win, I win. Like, we all win. I'm like, we're all connected. So like, why would I be upset that you're doing well, right? And jealousy is real. I'm not saying I've never experienced that because I have. I am human. But I love celebrating people, and I love celebrating the collective wins because it's so cool to see like how many different people are doing like similar things but having like different outcomes and different successes and different opportunities. And it's just so fun to see people like living their best life and living in their authenticity and just enjoying this beautiful gift that we get to experience, which is life. And so for me, what makes me me is, giving, seeing people happy, celebrating wins. I love travel. I love to experience new cultures. I love to see how other people live. Like, for me, that's like a top tier core value of mine is truly, I would say I had to summarize my life and core values in one word, I always say it's connection. I really do value connection, connecting with people, and different cultures, like I said, different experiences. And I really do make an effort in my friendships and in my life to stay connected to people. I've had people that I've met from across the globe and then, gone and stayed at their house like a year or two later because, I keep in touch. And that's what's important to me. And I'm the type of person where I get really deep. Like, I don't really have a lot of surface level friendships. I have very few like quality friendships, and my friends just mean everything to me. So I think having that connection with people and being really intentional about connecting with people and making those memories is truly what is important to me. Let's see. How have things been? I miss it here. I know, I miss you too, the goddess. It's been good. This is like my new account, so I haven't been going live. This is like my second live, I think, on this account. I went live yesterday and then today. So I'll be doing more lives, hopefully. I want to do one at least once a day. Wrestling makes men confident. Well, I don't know anything about that, but I would say that anything that sparks joy in your life is what's going to make you confident. And I always say, I know this might be an unpopular opinion, but I know that a lot of people say, get out of your comfort zone. And I do find that that is important. I also think that confidence is built on getting really good at your craft, at whatever it is that you're passionate about. It doesn't always have to be that you have to go do this new thing. You don't have to keep going to fix yourself and doing new things, right? Do what you love and get really, really, really freaking good at it. And your confidence will skyrocket from there, right? It's not always about starting something new. It's about like honing your skills that you already have and becoming a master of those. Why aren't you married according to your opinion? I really, to be honest, I have not focused on dating. It's just not been a priority for me. And so I haven't prioritized dating. No, that's how I am. Love to see everybody win and success. Yes, like that's the best. How was 2025 for you? 2025 was a year that really stretched me. 2025, I'm going to turn on this other light. Hold on. 2025 was an interesting year for me. I had a lot of life change. I quit my 9-to-5 job, and I started my own business. So 2025 was a lot of learning. I did a lot of travel in 2025, which was awesome too. I went to Bali, Malaysia, Thailand, France, Spain, Belgium, and the Netherlands, and Florida. I went to Disney a lot. And so 2025, it had its highs and it had its lows, just like any year. And so I feel like 2025 really showed me my ability to have resilience, I would say. 2025 was definitely a year where I had to lean on myself and trust myself with a lot of big, important decisions. And I think for the first time ever, 2025 really made me understand what surrender meant. That's what I would say. I feel like I fully surrendered in 2025 to just my intuition, right? I wasn't in my head in 2025 second guessing, and I'm not saying 2025 was a breeze. It was actually one of my toughest years. But because I was faced with so many big decisions, one person can't handle all of that. So I really had to surrender and just trust and know that things were going to work out and not stress, because there's nothing that comes of stress. There's nothing I can do with certain, situations and circumstances that are beyond my control. So I really did have to surrender in 2025 and just trust that things would be okay. How was y'all's 2025? Because with this year coming to an end, it's a really good time to reflect on life and, what you want to do. What is your profession, job title? I am a life coach. I coach women on confidence. How old are you? 37. What do you think about 70% of women being single by 2030? I don't even know that I've heard that statistic, but that's interesting. I think that women now, that makes sense, right? So I would say that historically, the dynamic of society was different. And in the sense of women married men for stability. And that was because women didn't have rights, right? In previous generations, women, didn't have the right to vote. They couldn't work. They were the caretakers in the house. And so they really married for stability. And they partnered with people for that. And now as times have evolved, women are becoming more and more independent. And so I think that has a lot of sway and impacts them being more selective with their partners because they know they can provide for themselves. So now instead of, picking men out of necessity, women are picking men out of what addition, right? How can you complement my life as opposed to kind of like a Hail Mary of I need to be provided for and I need to be taken care of. And that was just because of societal circumstances and the needs of society and the way the times were. And now that times are different, I think that women are starting to view what they want from a different lens and from a different perspective. And they just want someone that can enrich their life. So I think that that's why. Are the best things free? I think there's a lot of good free things. Tips about trusting yourself and owning that. I would say that the biggest thing with trusting yourself is just knowing you are here now. And what I mean by that is you have made it past every trial, every tribulation, and every hurdle that has come your way because you're still standing, right? And there are times in your life where things were hard and you didn't know how you were going to get through it, and you didn't think that you were going to make it. It could have been financial, it could have been personal, it could have been romantic, it could have been, career, and you're here. And you might be going through something right now, and that's fine too, because life ebbs and flows. And it's the inner knowing that I've always been okay. I've always been okay. I've always ended up being okay. And it's really repeating that to yourself over and over and over again, because as long as you have breath in your body, you have everything that you need, right? And things will always work out if you have faith and trust that you can handle anything that comes your way, because you've handled it before. There are so many things in life that have come up that you didn't even know, and you just figured it out, right? It could be something completely outside of your wheelhouse and you just had to figure it out. You didn't have a choice. And so you got scrappy, you rolled up your sleeves, and you figured it out. And I think that's what's beautiful as humans, is that we are programmed for survival, and that starts to kick in those moments, and you just make it work. And sometimes you're like, I don't even know how I made that work. It was a miracle. It was sheer luck. It was, whatever it was, forces outside of you at play. And it's just like, I don't have to worry when I know that I've always been okay. So I think that's the biggest thing with trusting yourself and just owning it, is just knowing who you are and knowing that you're resilient. So you can do anything that you put your mind to. When you are faced with adversity, when you're faced with a challenge, you'll make it through because you always have. That's an excellent question. Relationships are hard, but people give up faster. I would say, it's all in your perspective. I can totally see how, if your past has, been that, then yeah, I do see some truth in that too, with people are so boundaried up in protecting their energy that it's easier to walk away. But that's why it's so important to be clear on your intentions, right? If both of you are aligned, then and you have the conversation of, hey, look, things are off right now, they're awkward, what do we both want? Is this worth fighting for? I think where people have the misstep is just not having the conversation on what their intention is. And if they do and they're not honest, then that's also not helpful. So it's just having the conversation and also being radically honest and saying what it is that you want and speaking up, because I think that we are so programmed today with information being at our fingertips that we just want this instant gratification, and we want that with our relationships and the people all around us. And it's just if you don't do this now, then you kind of can get impatient and you kind of just give up. And so I think that it's important to just take a pause and take a breather and say, what do we want out of this? Is this something that we want to fight for? And just having, again, the open dialogue. Frogman said, so what matters to women? I don't know what you mean by that. Can you elaborate on that question? Thank you so much for the follow. Women come off thirsty these days. Not all women, but a lot too. Ooh, I don't know that I would agree with that. But, it's your lived experience. So if that's what you think, then, you're allowed to have that opinion. what is your religion? I'm more of a universalist, I guess, or I don't really subscribe to organized religion. I just always say that I'm spiritual more so. What's up? How are you doing? I'm good. How are you? Do you practice spirituality? Yes, I do. People born from 1980 to 1989, do you recognize your generation from other generation? Oh, that's such an interesting question, and I love it. That is so funny you said that. I feel like millennials, specifically those people that were born in the 80s, maybe I'm biased because I'm an 80s baby, I feel like we are aging different. It's actually hard sometimes to like recognize people from my generation because I feel like I don't know, we look younger. I have no idea. I don't know. I know a lot of people have said that. There's something about like the 80s babies. They just look a little younger. Do you think getting married should be as hard as getting divorced? I don't know exactly what you mean by that. Do you mean just like the actual process for getting a divorce? Because I know that can be like really like laborious, right? There's like a lot of steps with it. But I mean, no, I don't think so. I mean, I think people should take the necessary preparations that they feel like they need to take. Like I know in some religions, people have to go to like premarital counseling and stuff. Lewis Howes, I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He has, one of the top podcasts on the globe for self-development. He and his now current wife, they started going to therapy when they very first started dating. And it was a question he asked her. He just said, look, like if we're going to be serious, he said, I want to go to therapy as a preventative measure, right? As something that's prophylactic. He didn't want to wait until there was a problem. He was like, I want to start to like, go deeper and start to get to know you on a different level so that I can understand your triggers, understand your trauma, and so that we're happy and healthy in our communication styles. And so that when conflicts do come up, we feel comfortable talking about them because we've opened up in therapy, and the fact that we're going to therapy together, those things can be addressed. And they started going to therapy, I want to say it was only a few weeks after they started dating. So I just think it's whatever it is that you feel is going to prepare you to have the best and healthiest marriage is what you should do. You miss DC. Yeah, DC's cool. You're welcome. Thank you so much for the follow. Mr. Cash said, good morning. Good morning. How are you? Thank you so much for the follow. When I said they come off thirsty, do you see some of the content on TikTok? That's why I made that comment. Well, I think it also depends on your algorithm, right? Because I don't see that, so it just depends. And again, it depends on the person. You also have to remember when it comes to like TikTok and content creation, I don't even know the percentage, but it's like a very small amount of the population creates content and posts it. So I wouldn't say that it's representative of the majority per se. But again, that's just my take. How do you get over heartbreak that happened 6 years ago? I still love her. That's a really good question. Getting over it, I would say, is not the word I would use. I would say, how do you come to a place of acceptance, right? I think at the end of the day, a lot of people are fixated on, I just want to be happy. And when you start to think of her, you might have memories where you're thinking of her and they're probably happy and they're probably very fond, and you probably are replaying those. But then assuming that, you guys aren't together, I'm assuming that there are some things that didn't go well, and that's why you guys ended the relationship. And sometimes we can overlook those things. So it's important to remember that it's not about necessarily wanting to be happy. I think that we should seek peace above all else. And so ask yourself, was I at peace in that relationship, or was there turmoil? Was I on edge? Were there eggshells? Were there things that weren't okay with me that were happening? And when you can come to a place of acceptance of the circumstances in the relationship and seeing them for what they were and not from that romanticized lens, then you can achieve the peace that you're looking for. And really, closure is something that you have to give to yourself. And so you really do have to build up that story of, what happened, why it happened, and then accept that it happened so that you can, find your next person, because you deserve, to be happy and to be at peace. So I hope that answers your question. Would you say gardening can ruin someone's confidence over time? Oh, I don't even know. What do you mean by gardening? Do you mean actual gardening? Or are you talking about something else? Because it's in quotes. I love the way you articulate yourself, your point of view. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thanks for answering my marriage question. Therapy before marriage should be a requirement. Yeah, I think, do what works best for you. Your intellect shows. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Why do all the creators sound the same? I don't know, but that's your opinion, so I respect it. So positive. Thank you, sister. Thank you so much. Thank you, Anthony. Yeah, loving on yourself more is always a good thing. Love your responses, especially to the religious questions and spiritual response. I'm sure you know. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Someone said, no, fix yourself first and then seek. I don't know what that was related to, but I do have a comment on that, and I think it's a lot of the times we are so fixated on fixing ourselves, and I think that sometimes you can kind of get on this hamster wheel of nitpicking what is wrong with you. And I think that it's important that you don't delay or defer your joy or your happiness because you're quote unquote fixing yourself, right? It's important to accept yourself and meet yourself where you are, understand where you still need work, and you can still have momentum and move forward while you're working on yourself. And when you have a healthy partner, that's what that is, because you're going to have different seasons of your life. You're never going to be fully healed. You're never going to be fully fixed, right? So it's accepting yourself where you are, loving yourself where you are, working with yourself, and meeting someone that wants to grow with you, right? That's willing to do some work with you. Now, if you have like major traumas, of course, like those should be addressed before you seek someone. But it's important that we don't have this monumental list of nitpicking ourselves and feeling like there's all of these things that we have to change in order to be loved, because you are whole as you are and you're worthy as you are, truly. So I think that's just a little important thing I wanted to touch on there. Hard to get over exes anyway, but got to stay strong. People always tend to go back. Yeah, that's true. Sometimes people do spin the block. It's important to know your why, just because, my cousin, he and his wife broke up, got back together, and then got married, and they've been married for I don't even know, 10, 12, 13 years. And so when two people separate, sometimes there's a lesson in the separation, and sometimes the answer is coming back to each other. So I think that it's important to not romanticize delusions, right? Like things that really did go wrong. You shouldn't indulge and, romanticize things that were really messed up. But if you all ended on really good terms and you're both two really healthy people, and maybe it was just circumstances like distance, or maybe it was like something where you guys had some communication improvements that need to be made, like the communication wasn't horrible, but it could have been better, then sometimes separating and doing some inner work and coming back to each other, it can be okay. But I would say it's, more rare. Let's see. Sister, got a face for news or a podcast promise plus you speak with confidence. Thank you. What is a confidence coach? A confidence coach is just someone who specializes in confidence, right? So I'm a life coach. I specialize in confidence. I like to talk about being, the best version of yourself. And so that's all that it is standing in your truth, right? Owning your authenticity and knowing who you are at your core. Because I feel like more often than not, people are always trying to embody a version of them that society wants them to be, or a version of themselves that they identify with that they've seen in pop culture because they think that that's, the look that they should go for, the aesthetic, the vibe, the house, the car, the whatever. And we're constantly comparing, especially in this day and age with social media. It's very easy to get stuck into a comparison trap and a comparison loop. And so a confidence coach is just like, who are you at your core? Like, lay down the character and just rest in your knowingness of who you are. Like, take the mask off, and who is it that you want to be? What are your standards, right? What are your values? What do you want out of life? Not what you think other people want from you. So that's really what it is uncovering kind of those sort of limiting beliefs and the stories that we've told ourselves. Thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it. In order to find a man or woman of status, find God first and understand that's the foundation. Yes, indeed. If that's what works for you, of course. It is an honor to be an acquaintance with you. I look forward to getting to know you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for stopping by and thank you for supporting my live. Why do the young always repeat the mistakes of the old? Why not learn from the old? I think that we also have to learn from our own lived experience. Like, someone might say, don't do this. And it's just like, why would I listen to someone else saying don't do this because it didn't work out for them? They might not have the same tenacity that you do. They might not have the same passion for that thing that you do. They might not have the same skills, the same capabilities. So what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another, and vice versa of what doesn't work. We all have our own unique and special gifts, and so it's important to go after your dreams and to learn for yourself. And you can pivot and go from there. So if you just take things at face value for what people say you should and shouldn't do, then you would probably have a lot of regret and a lot of guilt for not trying it out for yourself just because someone else said don't do it. You're a life coach strictly for women? No, at this point, no. Initially, when I first started my business, I've been getting so many DMs from men that I'm probably going to change my profile. So no, it's not just women at this point. That's actually going to be on my to-do list. I think tomorrow is just to pivot and update my profile because I've gotten so many DMs from everyone. So it doesn't really matter. Not trying to be an ass, but what is your educational background? Just curious. You're allowed to ask. That's fine. And if I don't want to answer the question, then I wouldn't. But I will answer this one because I think it's totally fine and totally fair to ask. So I have an undergraduate degree. I have a graduate degree. I have a lot of degrees. I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner. And with that, there was a coaching component because you have to coach people through nutrition. And then I also went to coaching school through IPEC, which is a certified life coaching school. So that is my educational background. And then I also have a project management certification and a post-baccalaureate certificate. Now that makes sense. You're skilled in your profession as confidence coach. No disrespect. Now that makes you skilled in your profession as a confidence coach. No disrespect. I don't know what that means. Be yourself. Exactly. Lady Neptune, thank you so much for the follow. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Seneca. I appreciate you. We are. We're up to 5,000 likes. Holy cow. Thank you. Loves of your positivity. Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you guys so much for the follows. Hi. Good morning. These like little pop-ups keep popping up. So if my face keeps lighting up, it's because a white little pop-up keeps popping up. I need to get a light for when it gets dark. Let's see. Now that's what's wrong today. God is not in the house. This generation is lost seeking TikTok. I mean, that's your opinion for sure. I think that, you know, people are led by whatever it is that drives them, whether that be religion, spirituality, you know, whatever it is, whatever makes you tick. I think that's unique to you. Enjoying the conversation. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for the daily heart me. I appreciate that. I'm a therapist, so I was just curious to learn about how you go to where you are as a confidence coach. Oh yeah, no, it's a fair question. Totally, for sure. That's a first for me. Yeah. No, so like, coaching school was like a year-long program, and then the nutrition one was also a year-long program, and both of them were coaching. Just the first one was specific to like nutrition coaching. Why don't women make a man put a ring on it anymore? They'd rather be a baby mama and not a wife. I think that that's unique to the person. I mean, with today's day and age, like, just traditions have faded away, and a lot more women feel like they don't need that nuclear family dynamic. So it depends on what the person wants out of their life, and I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. Marriage isn't for everyone, right? I mean, if someone doesn't want to get married, they shouldn't have to just because they have a child with someone, right? So it depends on what they want. Everybody's wants and needs are different. So I wouldn't say that everybody has to go the traditional route. Any other questions? I think I'm going to get off in a couple of minutes. So if you have any last minute questions, I'll take them. And I'm going to try and go live daily. So around the same time, I went live about an hour and a half ago. So whatever time zone you're in, minus an hour and a half, and that's when I'll be live. But I know everybody's different. So I think that's like 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, like around that time, 5:30 a.m. That's how it has always been. The family makes the society. Corey, I just think people need to make their own decisions and have the autonomy over their life that works for them. Does health, eating right, and working play a major factor in confidence? Oh yeah, I mean, I think that confidence is just being self-assured. So what health looks like, what eating right looks like, and what work and play looks like is going to vary from person to person. So as long as you're rooted in your core values and what it is that you want out of life, then that builds confidence in those, small micro decisions. If you're not happy with, your body or your cholesterol is bad, then making healthier choices, yes. Like, I think those are all good things, but I think it looks different for every person. Kansas City, Missouri love, thank you. What's an experience or lesson that has opened your eyes in a healthy way this year? Ooh, that's such a good question. I love that. I think that there's so many. I'm trying to figure out which one to choose. I think it's knowing that I can do anything. When I first quit my job of 13 years and I was making a lot of money and now being self-employed and making less, it really opened my eyes to like again, and I knew this before, but it's just, you don't have to follow the societal norm, right? It's okay. I remember when I first told my family that I was leaving my job, it was like blasphemy, and their initial reaction was, what are we going to tell so and so? And it's like, why does that matter? Like, why does what I do for a living and how I choose to live my life matter to someone else? Like, why does it matter that I'm leaving corporate America? Why does it matter that I'm not doing the traditional 9 to 5? Like, I think people are so set in the programming of what used to be in traditional times, and it's just like, in this day and age, you can do and be anything that you want in this world, truly. And I think that you are your only limitation, right? The one that you impose on yourself is the only one that exists. No one else, because we all have free will, and it's the story we tell ourselves of why we can't do something that prevents us from doing it. And that's what I did for a really, really long time. And so when I finally got the courage to just get over it, and when I say finally, this is something I have wanted to do for years, and it's hard. And then I was like, is it hard? And I think the realization was that I had all of these reasons of why it wouldn't work out. Like, oh, you're leaving the safety. You're not going to have a 401k. You're going to have to pay for your own health insurance. But I wasn't focused on all the reasons why I could do it, of like, well, you have, savings, and you have this networking opportunity, and you can go reach out to this friend, and you can learn this skill, and, you have this degree to lean on. And if it doesn't work out, you have skills to go get another 9 to 5 job. I was so focused on why it wouldn't work out that I failed to look at why it could work out. So I think that has been a lesson for me that's opened up my eyes in a way where it's just like, wow, let's shift our mindset instead of focusing on, all of the things that aren't going to work out or that could go wrong. And granted, I'm a very positive person, but it's also just that programming in your brain, right? You're very pragmatic, and you just want to make sure that you're being responsible. And it's like, sometimes we're so focused on being quote unquote responsible that we forget that we're responsible to also live the life that we want to live. And we have to honor that pull. And if I'm going to honor that, then I need to focus on why it can go right. Because at the end of the day, I believe in myself, and I'm just choosing to not put my energy there. And I'm choosing to put my energy on the what if of what could go wrong. And so it really opened my eyes to just really bet on myself and invest in myself, and to really have that lens of what can go right. So thank you for asking that question, because that was a really good one. Let's see. Hello, Evolve. How are you? You've put in your time with the military. Now you wish to enjoy your me time now. You've achieved and succeeded. That's amazing. And congratulations, and thank you for your service. Now it's me time. If the ancestors send me a mate, the Creator shows favor and see that it is done. Yes, I will affirm that for you. Hopefully that is what happens, and I'm sure it will. Can't wait to see you tomorrow, same time. Good night. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Sorry. Thank you for sharing your experience. I'm actually in a similar period right now. Well, just know that you can do anything. Seriously, as long as you put your mind to it and you invest in yourself. And those changes don't have to be big. Like, mine was really like a big change, leaving my job. Not everybody's changes have to look like that. You can start with something small and do what feels good to you. So, bet on yourself, because you can do it 100%. I believe in you. All right, I think that's all the questions. So thank you so much for liking the live. I appreciate all of you joining. And there's one more question. So you think there shouldn't be any rules or standards? People should just do what they want. I'm saying live a life that's authentic to you, right? I mean, don't harm other people along the way. But what I am saying is live your authenticity, live your joy, live your dreams, and don't be afraid to make bold moves and to make brave decisions and to do what it is that you want to do. Don't let fear hold you back. Have faith that you can handle anything that comes your way, because you're awesome and you're amazing and you've gotten this far. So there's nothing that can stop you except for your limiting beliefs of yourself, which are self-imposed. So yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to hop off, but I will be back on tomorrow. So take care. Bye.